Hypervisor controller means it's VMware only, right? So VMware, okay, hypervisor controller. Now, what do you mean by virtual hardware? Virtual hardware means whenever we are trying to use the hypervisor now, we are trying to mention some amount of RAM it is supposed to be used, right? Amount of hard disk it is supposed to be used. So virtual hardware, right? So we are saying, okay, do one thing out of 500 GB, you can use the 200 GB hard disk for my OS installation. You can use 1 GB or 2 GB of RAM for the OS running purpose. So then virtual
Okay.
hardware is there, and what we having? Our OS, guest OS. Suppose this is the nothing but the, you can see this is the Linux, okay, Linux operating system. And then on top of this, we having the applications like whatever we were looking for, like free, like for the Linux operating system, we having the Office setup, like Open Office is there. So those applications we are going to install, what application we perform, that kind of operation we can perform as part
Okay.
of
So
the,
so in like in a company there is this virtual machine, right?
yeah, yeah.
And sorry, in physical hardware it is
Uh-huh.
host operating system, right?
Uh-huh.
Means it is running with VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, right?
No, VDI is different and this is different actually. VDI is what you can understand. You are simply connecting on the link, right? In the VDI, you are logging in credential and your VDI is getting loaded, right? That is
Yes.
the VDI. I'm not talking about the VDI. That is the Citrix receiver kind of situation
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you have
Citrix
in the
receive.
Citibank. You have seen in the Citibank actually. In the
Yeah.
Citibank environment, they are using the Citrix receiver. Once you are clicking on it, they are simply loading your virtual machine over your desktop. So that is
Yes.
very lightweight actually, I can say. Okay. This is
Okay.
I'm talking about. Suppose I having this is the my setup of the computer. As part of
Okay.
setup of the computer, if you focus, I'm just trying to show you this is my hardware as of now. Okay. This hardware having the couple of information, like I can go to the storage. In this storage, it is going to show you I have the two disks. One disk is the asset hard disk. This is the hard disk, which is
Yeah.
931.4 GB, means total 1 TB of hard disk I having, and this is the SSD. So hard disk and SSD is there. So while I'm trying to install the OS, now you can see the whatever the disk having the OS installed, it is going to tell you the boot page size, right? So this kind
Okay.
of booting situation, you will able to identify in which disk my OS installed. So my OS is installed on the SSD. Okay.
SSD.
Now
Okay.
in this disk, my OS is not installed. Whenever you have the VMware, now you are going to install your VMware here, but you can choose in which disk you would like to have the installation of your OS. So I can have the installation of my OS over the other drive as well. I can allocate the RAM, I can allocate the memory, that kind of thing. So I having 16 GB of RAM as part of my system. So I can say 4 GB you can use for one virtual machine and another 4 GB you can use for another virtual machine. Okay. So I can have couple of virtual machines installed. So you can simply take the example in terms of your personal laptop actually, as of now, for understanding purpose. One of the best you can understand from your personal laptop. You can have your own hardware, which is your laptop, and hardware you have Windows 10. On top of that, you can have VMware software. In the VMware software, you are simply having the chosen like that much RAM you can use, that much hard disk you can use, and then you have installation of your OS, and then you have the application. So I hope so you have did as part of your like when you was in school or college. I did those things couple of times as part of my school, college, even as part of my company also. Like I was means I was going through some Udemy courses, okay, for the cloud computing. So I have seen Macintosh having inbuilt functionality of the Unix, right? So I thought of, let's have the installation of VMware, let's have installation of Macintosh. I did it, but my hardware was in the old laptop actually. My hardware was not that much strong enough. That's why it's very slow. So I increased my RAM from 4 GB to 8 GB also, but that much good performance was not there. But now this is my new laptop. In my new laptop, I having the SSD, right? So I have the SSD, I having the more RAM, I having the more processing unit. So definitely I can have these things up and running. But problem is this kind of setup needs so much powerful hardware. What is the problem with this kind of setup? It's need more powerful hardware. You can see like you having the physical hardware, then you having the operating system, you having the hypervisor. So you are doing lots of overhead kind of situation in this kind of architecture, the virtual machine kind of architecture. You're getting my point? What I'm trying to say
Okay.
here?
Hardware
Yes.
means we have to manage this desktop and all, right? Desktops. So
Hardware
many
means
desktop with
no, desktop.
large number of like hard disk
No,
space.
that's not that you are going for the horizontal scaling. I'm talking about the vertical scaling. I should have powerful RAM. I should have
Okay.
powerful hard disk. Like you have heard about, if I would like to work with the SAP, minimum 16 GB of RAM should be there to work with the SAP. So whenever I should have powerful hardware, then I can go for such kind of setup actually. If you observe, there are two OS are there. See, two OS are available, right? There is hypervisor. So hypervisor also consuming the processing, RAM also consuming processing, means that what to say, the software is also I'm installing overhead. Lots of overhead of operating system, overhead of hypervisor, overhead of rest of the application. So powerful configuration is required for the virtual machine creation. This is the problem meeting in terms of this is the basic architecture which we are able to see. So in the Azure also, if you are going for the virtual machine, such kind of thing is going to be happen. They have their own hardware, but they are going to provide you a couple of virtual machines, right? So you no need to think about this kind of situation. You can simply have your virtual machine up and running. So this kind of setup will come under the virtual machine. This setup is still being utilized as part of the cloud, okay? But this is very heavy. It needs heavy processor, heavy hardware. Everything should be strong configuration. Got the visibility? This is the way a virtual machine are being created as part of your clouds also, as part of your company environment also. But I'm giving you the one of the best understanding as part of my personal life, which I did as part of my personal laptop. Got the visibility?
Yes.
Yeah. Now come to the next level. What is the next level? You are supposed to have the physical hardware. You are supposed to have the operating system, but you are not going the hypervisor now. What you are using? You are using the container engine. Okay, container engine, like you have seen the Tomcat. Have you heard about the Tomcat or Baby Spear?
Tomcat
yeah.
server, right?
Yeah. So actually, if I talk about the Baby Spear or Tomcat or WebLogic, now they are the application servers. So why I'm telling application server, they can run couple of application in one go, right? So I'm saying I would like to have the serverless engine running. I would like to have Spring engine running. I would like to have EGV engine running. So I'm no need to have the hypervisor here. I can simply have my container engine, which can have the couple of containers and couple of containers having the capacity to execute all my applications. So in this way, I'm avoiding the virtual allocation of my hardware. I'm avoiding the virtual installation of my OS. I'm avoiding the less of the problem, right? What is the problem here? This overhead I'm removing. A hypervisor controller overhead I'm removing. Virtual hardware I'm removing. And guest OS. If I'm removing all those three components, then I'm directly dealing with my container where my application is, my end goal is to run my applications actually. Okay, so this is the container based services. Couple of instances are going to be created. So this is kind of container based services. You heard about the Dockers, right? Kubernetes. They are the container based services where they have the hardware, they have the operating system, and then we have the container engine, which will contain the couple of containers. So whatever container you are working with, those kind of dependencies will be there. Like servlet related dependencies, nothing but the jar files, right? So those applications will be up and running in the container environment. Got the visibility about it?
Yes.
Yeah. Now this is very famous, like what to say, in terms of you would like to have the same kind of setup but less overhead. This will be much more beneficial for you. Okay, this comes under the you can say like elastic in terms of the Azure also. Azure also, you can see such kind of services will be there. You can have the couple of instances created on top of containers. Like you will see Azure Dockers, Azure Kubernetes. Okay, those kind of services comes under the container-based services. Now the Azure Function. Azure Function is developed in such kind of architecture. What is this? Every time your physical hardware will be there, every time your OS will be there. But right this time you have serverless runtime. Okay, why serverless runtime? If you will talk about the container, still you have the overhead to maintain your container, to have the installation of your latest patches, to have your container up and running, right? Anyhow, anyway, you are going to maintain your container. Okay, and even you are not going to maintain, maybe cloud vendors are going to maintain their container, but this will be visible to you. Okay, how actually things are being working there, how actually things are happening there. But once I will talk about serverless runtime, like there is no container concept will be there. Okay, serverless means there is no server nothing but the container like you are having the application up and running. So it's like you are having the runtime environment where in the runtime environment you have couple of functions. Okay, function nothing but the independent processing unit. Okay, compute unit, which is going to be provided the computing system. So for each and every small resource to the big resource, you will have the functions, and those is going to work out. How exactly small, how exactly big one? Now I'm saying this is the function which is capable enough to deal with the 10,000 customers in a day. Okay, this is sufficient enough to proceed the things. Suppose I'm saying now my traffic is like 1 lakh customer. How exactly this is going to work out? Like this, we having the instances, right? Horizontal scaling is going to apply. So there are 10 instances is going to be maintained for this particular function, not a 10 function. 10 instances of the same function only. So we are going to run, and this is what is going to be happen. So horizontal scaling is going to work out, auto scaling is going to work out. In this way, your processing is going to be done for those many customers, for those many that much traffic. So this is one of the very famous one. This is known as the platform as a service. This is known as the Azure function. This is going to be charged as a pay per execution. Okay, and this is much more less cost effective, because if I talk about, if you're having the execution of certain tasks from particular time, like 5 to 5:30. Okay, so this is going to execute this task and they are going to simply complete it out. You're not supposed to pay for entire 24 hour. You're not supposed to pay for what to say whenever not in use, whenever it's up and running. It's totally depend on your execution, how much time your application is taking to execute as part of those servers. You are going to pay for that much amount only. So nowadays, because this is entire cloud, it is going to be totally maintained by the cloud vendors. It's entirely their setup. They are not supposed to reveal any information to you. You are supposed to execute your applications only. So that kind of things comes under the serverless runtime, that is known as Azure functions, right? Pay per execution. No need to pay per second. No need to pay per minute. Okay. So this is the one of the best, very famous, and developers are basically dealing with such kind of stuff only. Okay, if I talk about the administrators, they are dealing with this architecture, or maybe this architecture. As I have discussed with you yesterday, you was dealing with such kind of architecture. Okay, but anyhow, anyway, in futures, this is also very famous. This is also coming to the picture, Docker and Kubernetes concept. And currently, if anybody is moving towards the cloud and simply focusing on the development only, they are going for the serverless architecture. Okay, so I hope so you got the visibility from those three diagrams.
So means currently in our office we are using this only, right? Virtual machine.
Virtual machines only, right? Right. In your office, currently you are using the virtual machine only.
Virtual machine.
Because you are creating the instances of the virtual machine, right?
Yeah, correct.
So that is the thing. Actually, they are the container services. Wait, just I got a call. Just 2 minutes. Sorry, Prabhu, actually, I just got a call.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you got the visibility. Now you can ask your questions. If you have any question related to this setup architecture.
So yeah, in this hypervisor controller, what it is doing, hypervisor
This
controller?
hypervisor controller means who can provide the hypervisor kind of capability. VMware. Okay, let me
VMware.
very simple thing. Whenever you have any doubt on any terminology, simply do the Google. That hypervisor control, right? Hypervisor meaning. If you see here, what is saying? What is the hypervisor? VMware glossary, right? I was talking about the VMware, right?
Okay,
Hypervisor means VMware, kind of emulator in computer, software, firmware, hardware creates a run and the virtual machine. You're getting my point?
okay,
Yeah. Very simple thing. From Wikipedia itself, to type hypervisor, na, it's clear cut
okay. Hyper.
VMware, right? So you
Yeah,
have seen the VMware till now. Have you used the VMware till now?
yeah. I use VM.
Yeah. So this is nothing but the hypervisor control. Okay. Very simple.
Yeah,
Whenever you are getting any concern, na, simply you
yeah.
can see the Google,
And
you can identify.
also we use this VDI virtual
VDA.
desktop infrastructure. So
Yeah.
we are
VDA.
having,
Yeah,
yeah,
tell
we
me.
are having the thin client,
Thin
actually thin
client,
client.
right? You
Okay,
got the
it's a
perfect
small
right.
box kind of thing. So
Right.
we will connect directly to server.
Right.
It's not a CPU and there is no memory, nothing is there in that particular thin client. And directly we can connect to server with VDI.
Right. This is the advantage actually using the thin client. If you see now
So
your
it
office, tell me.
okay. So this model comes under this only, right? Containers
Thin
are
client, no? Containers,
are serverless.
serverless. Yeah, serverless. We can no server. Yeah, that means. But still, if you see now, I cannot say it's a serverless. You are not using the serverless actually. Okay, still you are using the virtual machine only. Why I'm telling you virtual machine? OS, right? OS,
Okay.
or you are installing the applications now. You're
Yeah, yeah,
installing application or not, right? You're installing the
yes,
application.
yeah,
Whenever the application installation is there, whenever you have the installation of DB servers or something like that, it's virtual machine only. It is not going to be the function. Function is not going to have anything from the application installation side. This functionality will simply execute your application. Let me tell you, very simple. You have the very basic containers like Apache. You are going to keep your application is going to run. This is only the utilization of the serverless computing actually. Okay. You are going to keep your application is going to be up and running. This is the only use of the serverless runtime containers.
okay,
Yeah, this is not the
yeah,
whenever you have the operating system, whenever you are installing the applications, that is comes under the virtual machine only. Okay, you're not running only a. What is the end goal of this architecture? Running your application up and running. Keep your application up and running. You're not dealing with the OS. You're not dealing with the containers. You're directly dealing with your application, which is up and running. Right? If I
okay,
made one microservice, I'm going to keep over the function. It is going to up and running. So that is the advantage of my serverless runtime. Whenever you have only one goal, you make your application up and running. You are going to deploy your application. Like websites, you are going to publish your website over the internet. You are going to keep
okay,
your entire website there up and running. It is going to work out. You are not going to deal with the containers. You are not going to deal with the operating system. Right now, as part of your environment, even you are using the Citrix receiver, still looking into the operating system, right? Still you are
okay.
dealing with the operating system. If you are using the operating system, still you are
Yes,
dealing with the applications. You have couple of applications. Skype is there, Outlook is there,
yeah.
MS Office.
Skype, Outlook. Yeah,
All those things comes under the virtual machine only. Okay,
yeah.
you're not simply running one application. Okay, whenever your end goal is to run the application only, that is the thing you are going to see as part of serverless runtime.
Okay,
Got the visibility about it?
yeah.
Yeah.